Hey, what's up? When I've lost my grandaunt about a few years ago, it was really all consuming. I mean, I was at the Heritage Festival seeing two people whom they knew for years, and with only one, by the time I came home, and my mother had received a phone call from my cousin down in Detroit, Michigan, saying my granddaughter just passed away at 5:17 in the afternoon. So I did not get that message until the day I got home attending the festival at the time. And one of my friends, whom I knew through my mentor, was the first to receive a message from me about my grandaunt's passing. I mean, it was very all consuming and very, very horrible, not good. That For the past few days, I mean, my family had to go through a whole bunch of some hard thinking, along with some wonderful memories, along with some preparations in order to get everything together for my grandaunt's funeral. And to make the long story short, my mother, by all accounts, had invited me to go all the way to Detroit with my brother and my mother to the funeral right there. When I have been invited to go to the funeral, it's just as a way of knowing how much I have loved my grandaunt and more, believe it or not. And even more so was to the fact was I was and still am her favorite grandnephew of all. Now, my grandaunt, believe it, as many of you don't know about my grandaunt, who happened to be Annie Ward-Blanchard, she was, believe it or not, the consummate professional of Detroit. You know, everything she did, she always put her family first. She even put her friends first. She even put her friends second. Not only that, she even loved God, and she even tried to be a great teacher, a mentor, a best buddy, and a close confidant. And she was even the best coach and the best grandparent that no other grandparent would ever be. I went to some school with some of my friends who have had living grandparents that were also close to my grandaunt's age, and they were in the same, almost in the same situation that my grandaunt was, but they really particularly did not compare or match the essence of my grandaunt's personality. So, in order to be like my grandaunt, Annie Ward-Blanchard, you would first have to try to do what Annie Ward-Blanchard did in her lifetime. She worked, she cooked, she even read the Bible to her kids. Not to mention, she loved baseball, even though she didn't go to I don't know if she went to not a single game, but most importantly, be the voice for all reasons. And if that weren't enough, you, also to be like Annie Blanchard, you also have to be the woman who could not tolerate prejudice. Before, I would not tolerate prejudice in the same manner she did not, believe it or not. If you make the long story short. Now, when I went to the funeral, I mean, everybody had said some remarkable things about my grandaunt. Most people had absolutely realized and to see and to envision who my grandaunt was, and I for one was one of them. And if anybody could, who lives in a certain atmosphere that my grandaunt was, or if you could relate to any story, one in particular about something that my grandaunt did, then it will click. It will make the connection. Now, I spoke a eulogy over at a funeral, and you know what? It was one of the most heartwarming eulogies to me that I have ever had spoken about. I spoke to her at the funeral. I did just that. I spoke to her at the funeral. I said something on which it tweaked a bit at the funeral, and I even thought so much in such a way that she had been a very, very, very wonderful grandparent. My mother spoke at the funeral pretty much the same thing too, believe it or not. And to make the long story short, compared to my relationship with my grandaunt, my mother, was pretty close with also my grandaunt too. And in the eulogy, I heard my mother was my grandaunt's surrogate daughter, and she was to the point where she was very, very, very special. And my mother had been very, very, very special to my grandaunt in a lot of ways that no other mother and daughter would ever had. My mom and I both had the best times with my grandaunt. She and I had an extremely amazing journey with my grandaunt. However, towards the final days of my grandaunt's life, she and I, along with my brother, all had to protect and to prevent her. We all had to talk to her without ever seeing my grandaunt. That's her. We talked to her on the phone. And believe it or not, her health had been absolutely declining. So, but she wasn't, my family and I knew she wasn't feeling very well for the last few years of her life. However, she had been a trooper. These last 6 years on which she ever fought for had been pretty amazing. Although she would no longer cook, but she had been one of the pioneering women of the 21st century and more. And you know what? I think I think Detroit ought to have a street named after her, or one of the buildings named after her. Hey, I was only kidding, believe it or not. I think if any one of you had met Annie Blanchard, or if you ever sit down and engage in a conversation with my grandaunt Annie Blanchard, she would be the first to give you a great big smile on her face. She was very special, and I really loved her. Well, I hope you have a blessed night. Take good care. And thank you for listening and for sharing. And as always, I will be Annie Blanchard's grandnephew. And Annie, if you're watching this video, this message is for you. We love you and we still missed you. And it's been 3 years since you were called home to be with the Lord. Bye.